Coming up very shortly, we're going to talk to Amy Tarkanian, Republican strategist, former Nevada state chair. But before that, let's just have a look at one of the things that shouldn't be absolutely amazingly candid, shouldn't be incredibly brave, shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. But here's Donald Trump talking about gender.
I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Shouldn't really have to be said, shouldn't really have to be news, but it is, and well said, Donald Trump. The revolution of common sense goes on. Kevin in Stafford says Trump's speech was as noteworthy as that of JFK, Martin Luther King and Churchill's Never Surrender speech in 1940. No British Prime Minister since, even Margaret Thatcher, has come close. A lot of people think this is one of the great moments in the world of politics, and many, many people in this country are looking now to the United States of America for inspiration. How do we get to that place? Amy Tarkanian's here, a Republican strategist. Amy, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
I've been really encouraged, actually, and quite surprised in a way by how many people, fans of this show, you know, listeners, viewers, have been really plugged in to what's been happening in Washington, D.C. and Trump's speech yesterday. And they were all terribly excited yesterday, waiting for it. Today, they're even more excited having heard it.
Sure, and I think it's wonderful because we now have a president who is going to lead by example, and I hope that you have other leaders around the world that will follow in his footsteps to some degree in making sure that their constituents are being listened to as well, and that their needs and safety are being met. This is something that's extremely important. You mentioned the border. We've had massive illegal immigrants crossing our border. Our incoming border czar, Tom Homan, actually mentioned that we have roughly 700,000 and upwards of illegal aliens roaming our streets with criminal records. They're not even in prison, they're roaming our streets. And so, you know, they automatically, when President Trump took the oath, already shut down the border. They shut down the app that President Biden's administration had administered for illegals to make an appointment. And you saw people actually self-deporting, walking back across the border. Right. So, you know, he's sending out a very clear message.
Well, there's no question, is there? If you make it easy for people to come to your country illegally, they're going to come. If you make it difficult, they're not. I always say it's a bit like leaving your front door open, you know, or leaving your car windows open. If you leave your car windows open, it's probably likely that somebody might steal something from it. If you leave your front door open, somebody's going to come in and walk out with stuff. You know, if you lock it, they're not going to do that. And the same goes for this country. I mean, we could do with a bit of that ourselves. But he's proving that these things can be done.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, that is one of the top priorities, despite your party affiliation, on why he was reelected. People are fearful. People want to have, you know, their families make sure that they're safe. You know, they don't want to have to look over their shoulders constantly. And so I think that this is a great start. This is a campaign promise that he's definitely following through with, and it's going to be an aggressive one. And there are going to be some tears that are going to be shed, but don't come across illegally. Come through here the correct way. We have millions of other individuals who did just that, and it's a slap in their face.
And do you think that America was fed up with Joe Biden and the kind of woke Democrats who had been in charge for the last 4 years and who had kind of wrecked an awful lot of what was good about America? Because I lived in America in the 1980s, and Trump's message yesterday to me was very much a bit like Ronald Reagan's message was in the 80s to America. You know, bold, brash, you know, slightly annoying even at times, but very ambitious, you know, very kind of, you know, forward thinking and looking to the future.
Yes, and you mentioned wokeness. So the other thing he's eliminated is what's called DEI,
Yeah.
diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that's infiltrated a number of companies, businesses, our military, and we had a decline in military recruitment because of that. And so I think that's also extremely important, that we're rescinding that. It's now going to be, you're hiring by merit based, not on your gender, not on your religion, not on the color of your skin, and not who you love. And so it's merit based and merit based alone. And I think that's also going to help get us back on track.
No, totally. I mean, we call ourselves here the home of common sense. I said at the beginning of the year, when January the first happened, that this was going to be the year of common sense, and so it looks. And so we're hopeful here in the UK that there will be a sort of knock-on effect. We've already seen the American banking system giving up on working from home, giving up on DEI. We've already seen some of the big American corporations giving up on it as well. We've seen Facebook going sort of normal and saying we're going to get rid of these, biased fact checkers. So there's a sense that there's something happening in the Western world. And obviously there were world leaders there yesterday, not Keir Starmer, unfortunately, not surprisingly, I suppose, but an awful lot of world leaders there who share Trump's vision, don't they?
Yes, 100%. And I think the fact that now they may feel that they have that freedom to do what they truly wanted to do or say what they wanted to say. Mark Zuckerberg actually on a podcast mentioned how the Biden administration, along with Obama, made his job extremely difficult. Now, I don't know if he's just now, having a come to Jesus moment and feeling that he doesn't want to be retaliated against. So he's going to go ahead and say what he needs to say to keep his head afloat, or if it's true or not. But either way, better late than never. Right. And so I think, the old saying is keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. And so I think President Trump's doing a smart thing by showing the world that he has American ingenuity. He has the wealthy of the wealthy all at his back.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was quite a religious ceremony in a way as well, wasn't it? There was quite a lot of references to God, and there were quite a few preachers there. Billy Graham's son was there, that great preacher from Detroit, who I didn't catch his name, who was very, very revved up. And of course, the what you might call the kind of the liberal elites, the left, always sneer at that kind of thing. They're always like, oh, look, they're all gods. Why are they praying to God? What's all that about? But it gave it a sense of importance, I think.
Sure. And, whether President Trump has been a longtime practicing Christian or not, he's somewhat new from what I understand, that's fine. This is his inauguration. He was able to have the variety of pastors and priests of his choosing. And I think it was beautifully done. And the Democrats do the same thing. They're more afraid of offending each other. And so, if you're not someone of the same faith, then they say, oh, we're not going to even touch that with a 10-foot pole. Right. We don't want to offend other religious beliefs. But that's their frame of thinking. And this was President Trump's. And I think it was fine. And I thought it was beautifully done.
Yeah, I think so. And there were some wonderful moments. There was one moment, and this was slightly later on at the inaugural ball, where Donald Trump dances with a sword. Have a look. This is him walking out with Melania, who of course had changed into a different dress. She looked amazing, didn't she?
Yes, stunning, absolutely stunning. And I think it's also important to point out that the first go around in his first term, they did not have the assistance from high-end fashion designers, and this time they did. And right. It was breathtaking. They all looked stunning. Yeah.
I said it was a bit like the return of glamour to Washington, D.C., because it hasn't been very glamorous under Joe Biden. He might be many things, but, he's not a fashion icon, is he?
No, not at all. And his wife also, usually looked a little bit frumpy. But everyone's different. Everyone's tastes are different. But yes, I would agree with you. Glamour has returned.
Yeah. People have asked me as well about all the pardoning that's been going on, because I think in this country we don't quite grasp what that's all about. I mean, Joe Biden's final act in office was to pardon members of his family, 5 members of his family, who haven't actually been charged with any crime, who don't appear to be in the frame for being charged with any crime. What is that all about? Is that something unusual?
It's highly unusual, and he also did it within the last 15 minutes while President Trump was giving his inauguration speech.
Right.
So it was very, very shady. And you do not issue a pardon unless there is guilt.
Yeah.
You're actually absolving that individual's situation. And so for President Biden to actually then follow up with that, with those pardons by saying, oh, this is no admission of guilt. Everyone is crying foul. Lots of people are upset. Democrats are upset and disgusted. And I think rightfully so. I don't agree with what he did at all.
Right.
And then not only did he do that, but he also pardoned the January 6th committee.
Yeah.
He pardoned
This was
Dr.
Liz
Anthony
Cheney and all
Fauci.
that crowd, right?
Yeah. And so, no one has been found guilty of anything supposedly, but he gave them pardons, and that is something.
And so
that
that basically means they can't be prosecuted for anything. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, they cannot be questioned any further. Right. So, in President Biden's mind, he felt that his family and these individuals were going to continue to be harassed, in his own words, by the incoming administration, and so this is his way of saying, you don't get to touch them.
Right. And Trump had even said in his speech that he would not be practicing that type of leadership, because he said, I know a little bit about it, and what the state will not be used to prosecute people because of their political beliefs.
Right. Well, he says that, but then he also took away security clearances of 51 Intel members who denied the Hunter Biden laptop allegations. So, you can say one thing, but you're not exactly sure where he's going to go next.
Well, to be honest, I mean, prosecuting people who kept something hidden, which was a crime, is probably not the wrong thing to do, is it? I mean, isn't that the right thing to do? I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about going after people just because, his name happens to be Joe Biden.
Right. Well, that's what he wants everyone to think. But once again, when you're going to have a pardon for an individual, it's because you're absolving their guilt.
Yeah.
And so there's no other reason for a pardon.
Okay. Good to talk to you, Amy. Thank you very much indeed. It's going to be a fascinating 4 years. Thank you. Republican strategist, former Nevada State Chair.